The scent of expensive leather and aged whiskey permeated Sebastian Ricci's office like a permanent fog. I'd grown so accustomed to it over the past 3 years that sometimes I caught myself breathing deeper just to fill my lungs with that intoxicating combination that meant safety, power, and the man I couldn't have. My fingers flew across the keyboard, transcribing notes from this morning's meeting with the Bellini family representatives. The click-clack of keys was rhythmic, soothing, a constant in the chaos that swirled around Sebastian's empire. Outside his door, the legitimate import-export business hummed along. Inside, behind mahogany panels and soundproofed walls, the real work happened. I glanced at the clock. 6:47 p.m. Most of the office had cleared out an hour ago, but I remained, as I always did, waiting for Sebastian to dismiss me. Waiting for those dark eyes to finally see me as something more than the efficient Miss Romano, who kept his schedule organized and his secrets buried. The intercom buzzed, making me jump despite 3 years of the same sound, several times daily. Stella. His voice, deep and slightly accented with that northern Italian cadence that turned my name into something almost sacred, flowed through the speaker. Bring the Moretti contract, the revised version. Right away, Mr. Ricci. I kept my voice professional, crisp, betraying nothing of how my heart had accelerated at the simple sound of his voice saying my name. Stella. Like stars. He'd told me that once during a late night when exhaustion had lowered his usual guards. Your name means stars, Stella. Did you know that? I'd nodded, unable to speak, watching him from across his desk as he'd studied me with an intensity that had made my skin flush. Then his phone had rung. The moment had shattered, and he'd never mentioned it again. I gathered the contract from my meticulously organized filing system, each document precisely where it should be, just as Sebastian expected. My hand smoothed down my navy pencil skirt, a nervous habit I'd never quite broken. The silk blouse I wore was conservative but fitted, professional without being matronly. I'd learned early on that Sebastian noticed details, and slovenly appearance was unforgivable in his world. The door to his office was already ajar when I approached. I knocked twice, our established ritual, and entered at his gruff entra. Sebastian sat behind his desk like a king on a throne, all sharp angles and controlled power. At 38, he was in his prime, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble by some Renaissance master. His suit was impeccable, charcoal gray with subtle pinstripes, tailored to emphasize broad shoulders that I knew from stolen glances could carry the weight of his empire without bending. But it was his eyes that always undid me. Dark brown, almost black in certain lights, they held secrets and promises and dangers I both feared and craved. The Moretti contract. I placed it on his desk, my fingers careful not to disturb the perfect alignment of his other documents. Everything in Sebastian's world had a place, a purpose, an order. I'd spent 3 years learning that order, becoming indispensable to it. Good. He didn't look up, his attention focused on the papers before him. His fountain pen, an antique Mont Blanc worth more than my monthly rent, scratched across the page with elegant precision. Cancel my 9 a.m. tomorrow. Reschedule it for Thursday at the same time. Certainly. The quarterly review with the legitimate holdings division? Sigh. A brief nod, still no eye contact, and confirm my dinner reservation for tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Il Giardino. My stomach clenched. Il Giardino, the most exclusive Italian restaurant in the city, where Sebastian took his important clients and, occasionally, the elegant women who appeared on his arm at charity galas. Women who looked nothing like me with their designer gowns and practiced smiles. Of course, for 2? I kept my voice neutral, though the question felt like swallowing glass. No. He paused, his pen hovering over the document. For 1, cancel it entirely. Relief and confusion swirled through me in equal measure. Certainly, Mr. Ricci. Stella. He looked up then, and the full force of his attention hit me like a physical thing. "How long have you worked for me?" 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days, I answered automatically, then felt heat creep up my neck at revealing I'd been counting. Something flickered in those dark eyes. Amusement? Interest? It was gone too quickly to identify. "And in all that time, have I ever given you reason to doubt my judgment?" "Never, sir." "Then trust me when I say you should accept Seth's invitation." The words didn't make sense at first. Seth Donovan, Sebastian's oldest friend and one of his most trusted associates. Seth, who'd been making increasingly obvious attempts to catch my attention over the past few weeks. Seth, who'd asked me to dinner just this afternoon while picking up documents from my desk. "I don't understand." "He asked you to dinner. You should go." Sebastian's voice was casual, but his jaw had tightened imperceptibly. I'd learned to read his micro-expressions, the tiny tells that revealed what his controlled exterior concealed. "With respect, Mr. Ricci, that seems like a matter of personal choice rather than professional obligation." Nevertheless, he returned his attention to the contract, dismissing me. "I'm telling you to accept. Consider it a directive, if that makes it easier." The absurdity of being ordered to go on a date nearly made me laugh, except nothing about this felt funny. May I ask why? Seth is a good man, loyal, honest by our standards. He would treat you well. The words were measured, each one carefully selected. You've been working too hard. You deserve an evening out. Anger sparked in my chest, hot and unexpected. 3 years of perfect professionalism, of swallowing my feelings, of watching him with those elegant women while I filed and scheduled and kept his world running smoothly. And now he was trying to set me up with his friend? How thoughtful of you to concern yourself with my social life, Mr. Ricci. I couldn't quite keep the edge from my voice. Shall I put it on the calendar? Stella's mandated dinner date with Seth? His eyes snapped back to mine, something dangerous glinting in their depths. Careful, Miss Romano. Miss Romano. We were back to that, the wall firmly in place. I straightened my spine, lifted my chin. Will that be all, sir? Yes. The word was clipped. You're dismissed. I turned on my heel and walked out with as much dignity as I could muster, closing his door perhaps a touch more firmly than strictly necessary. Back at my desk, I sank into my chair and pressed my palms flat against the smooth surface, trying to calm my racing heart. My phone buzzed. A text from Seth. Still waiting on that answer, Bella. Dinner tomorrow? I promise excellent wine and even better company. I stared at the message, Sebastian's words echoing in my head. 3 years. 3 years of hoping, waiting, organizing my entire existence around this man who barely acknowledged I was a woman instead of just another piece of office equipment. My fingers moved across the screen before I could second-guess myself. Tomorrow works. 8 o'clock? His response was immediate. Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7:30. Wear something that makes you feel beautiful. Not that you need help with that. The emoji felt juvenile compared to Sebastian's stern formality, but there was something refreshing about Seth's openness. He didn't hide behind walls or speak in carefully coded messages. What you saw was what you got. I gathered my things, preparing to leave for the evening, when Sebastian's door opened. He stood in the doorway, jacket removed, shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms I'd noticed far too often. The way the fabric stretched across his shoulders should be illegal. Stella. My name again, but different this time. Softer, almost vulnerable. Did you accept? Yes, sir, as you suggested. He nodded once, his expression unreadable. Good, that's good. He turned to go back inside, then paused. Wear the blue dress, the one from the charity gala last spring. My breath caught. He remembered what I'd worn 6 months ago to an event where I'd barely exchanged 10 words with him. That seems like an odd level of interest in my wardrobe choices, Mr. Ricci. Seth likes blue. He disappeared into his office, the door clicking shut with a finality that felt like a dismissal of more than just my physical presence. I stood there, staring at that closed door, my mind spinning. Sebastian Ricci, who noticed everything and revealed nothing, had just told me what to wear on a date with another man. The same Sebastian Ricci who'd apparently remembered the exact dress I'd worn half a year ago. The pieces didn't fit, and that bothered me more than I wanted to admit. That night, I lay in my modest apartment, staring at the ceiling and trying to make sense of everything. The blue dress hung on my closet door where I'd pulled it out, a silent accusation. It was beautiful, sophisticated, elegant. It had made me feel like I belonged in Sebastian's world, if only for one evening. And now, I was supposed to wear it for Seth. My phone buzzed again. Another text, but this one made my heart stop. Unknown number. The blue dress is for me. Wear something else tomorrow. I sat up, pulse racing. There was only one person who could have sent that. Only one person who'd mentioned the blue dress. Me. This is inappropriate, Mr. Ricci. The response came quickly. Many things about tomorrow are inappropriate. The dress is mine. Choose something else. My fingers trembled as I typed. You told me to go. You practically ordered me to accept Seth's invitation. You don't get to dictate what I wear. 3 minutes passed. 5. Then, you're right. Forget I said anything. Enjoy your evening tomorrow. I threw my phone across the bed, frustration and confusion warring in my chest. What game was he playing? What did he want from me? Sleep, when it finally came, was fitful and filled with dreams of dark eyes and whispered Italian endearments I'd never actually heard him speak. The next morning arrived with a gray sky that matched my mood perfectly. I'd barely slept, Sebastian's cryptic messages replaying in my mind on an endless loop. The blue dress remained on my closet door, a silent reminder of his confusing possessiveness. I chose a different outfit entirely. A deep burgundy dress with a modest neckline and 3/4 sleeves, elegant but not showy. If Sebastian wanted the blue dress for himself, fine. But I wasn't going to let him control what I wore, even indirectly. The office felt different when I arrived at 7:30 a.m., my usual early time. Something in the air had shifted, though I couldn't identify what. Marco, one of Sebastian's security detail, nodded at me from his post by the elevator, his usual greeting. But his eyes held something I hadn't seen before. Knowledge. Like he was in on a secret I wasn't. "Morning, Miss Romano," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "Good morning, Marco." I passed him, heels clicking on the marble floor of the executive suite. My desk was exactly as I'd left it, everything in its place. I booted up my computer and began the morning ritual, checking Sebastian's schedule, reading through overnight emails, prioritizing the day's tasks. At precisely 8:15, he emerged from his private elevator, the one that went directly to his penthouse apartment above the office. He looked tired. There were shadows under his eyes I'd never noticed before, and his tie was slightly askew, which was so unlike him it made me do a double take. "Good morning, Mr. Ricci." "Stella." He stopped at my desk, something he rarely did. Usually he went straight to his office, barely acknowledging my presence beyond a curt nod. "The Moretti meeting has been moved to 10. Antonio wants to meet at his club instead of here. I'll update the file and have everything ready." He lingered, his hand resting on the edge of my desk. His fingers were long, elegant, the kind of hands that could sign death warrants as easily as business contracts. I'd seen him do both. "About last night. Mr. Ricci, if you're about to apologize for inappropriate text messages, perhaps we should discuss this in your office." I kept my voice low, professional, but firm. Something like respect flickered in his eyes. "My office. Now." I followed him in, closing the door behind us. He moved to the windows that overlooked the city, his back to me. The morning light caught the lines of his shoulders, the slight tension in his posture. "I overstepped," he said finally. "The messages were inappropriate." Yes, they were. He turned, and the intensity in his gaze nearly made me step back. But I won't apologize for the sentiment behind them. My breath caught. Which sentiment was that, exactly? The blue dress. He moved toward me, slow and deliberate, like a predator who'd spotted prey. "I remember it because you looked stunning. You always look professional, polished, perfect. But that night, you looked like you belonged at my side instead of behind a desk." The admission hung between us, heavy with implications I didn't dare examine too closely. "And yet you're sending me to dinner with Seth." "Because it's what's best." His jaw tightened. "Seth can give you things I can't. A normal life, safety, a relationship that doesn't come with the complications of my world." "Did it occur to you that I might like those complications?" The words escaped before I could stop them, raw and honest. Sebastian's eyes darkened. "Stella." My phone buzzed, shattering the moment. I glanced at it automatically. "Seth." "Counting down the hours, Bella. Can't wait to finally have you all to myself." Sebastian's gaze dropped to my phone, and I watched his expression shutter closed, all that momentary vulnerability vanishing behind his usual mask of control. "Answer him," he said coldly. "Don't keep him waiting." "Mr. Ricci, we have work to do." He moved past me to his desk, effectively dismissing me and the conversation. "Send in the updated Moretti files." I left his office feeling like I'd been in a car accident, shaken and disoriented. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of phone calls and emails. I felt eyes on me constantly. Marco watching from his post. Lucia from accounting giving me curious looks when she dropped off expense reports. Even Antonio Moretti himself, when he arrived for the 10 o'clock meeting, studied me with an interest that felt calculated. "Miss Romano." He greeted me, his accent thicker than Sebastian's. "You look lovely today. That color suits you." "Thank you, Mr. Moretti." Sebastian is lucky to have such a beautiful and efficient assistant. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Very lucky indeed. There was something in the way he said it, something that made my skin prickle with unease. Like I was being assessed for value in a market I didn't understand. After the meeting, I heard raised voices from Sebastian's office, not quite shouting, but intense enough to carry through the heavy door. I couldn't make out words, but the tone was clear. An argument between Sebastian and Antonio. When Antonio finally emerged, his expression was thunderous. He paused at my desk, composing himself with visible effort. "Miss Romano, a pleasure as always." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "A word of advice, Cara. Be careful where you place your affections in this world. Not everyone's intentions are as pure as they seem." Before I could respond, he was gone, leaving me with more questions than answers. Sebastian appeared in his doorway moments later. "Stella, in here." His office felt like a pressure cooker when I entered. He stood by the windows again, tension radiating from every line of his body. "What did Antonio say to you?" "Just goodbye. And something cryptic about being careful." "Cryptic how?" His voice was sharp, urgent. "He said to be careful where I place my affections, that not everyone's intentions are pure." I watched Sebastian's jaw clench. "What's going on? What am I missing?" He was silent for a long moment, warring with himself. Finally, "Antonio knows about tonight, about you and Seth." "How?" "I only accepted yesterday." Understanding dawned, cold and uncomfortable. "You told him." "It came up in conversation." "My personal life came up in a business meeting?" Anger spiked through me, hot and sharp. You discussed my date with one of your associates? It's not that simple. Then explain it to me. My voice rose despite my attempts at control. 3 years, Sebastian. 3 years I've worked for you, kept your secrets, managed your schedule, made your life run smoothly, and now you're discussing my personal business with your colleagues. You don't understand this world, because you've kept me separate from it. I file your papers and answer your phones and keep your legitimate businesses looking legitimate, but you've never let me see what really happens behind closed doors. I moved toward him, frustrated and confused. So explain it to me now. Why does Antonio Moretti care who I have dinner with? Sebastian's control cracked, just for a moment. Because everyone in my world knows exactly how I feel about you, Stella. They've known for months. They watch me watch you. They see how I can't focus when you're in the room. They notice that I remember what you wore 6 months ago. His voice dropped, becoming almost dangerous. And they know that if they wanted to hurt me, the fastest way would be through you. The confession hit me like a physical blow. What? Seth's invitation wasn't random. It was a test. Sebastian moved closer, and I could smell his cologne, that intoxicating combination of cedar and something uniquely him. Antonio suggested it, said Seth would be good for you, that I should encourage it, that keeping you close but uninvolved was putting you in danger anyway. A test of what? My control, my priorities, whether I'd choose personal feelings over strategic advantage. His hand came up, almost touching my face before he caught himself and dropped it. I failed the moment I told you to wear the blue dress. My mind reeled, trying to process everything. So sending me with Seth was supposed to prove I could separate business from personal, that you weren't a weakness. His laugh was bitter. But I can't stop thinking about him picking you up, taking you to dinner, making you laugh, touching your hand across the table. His voice had gone rough, almost raw. I've been watching the clock since you accepted, counting down the hours until you leave with him, and hating every second of it. Then why? Because Antonio was right about one thing. Being close to me puts you in danger. My enemies know how I feel even if I've never said it. They see me look at you the way I've never looked at anyone else. He finally met my eyes. They'll use you against me, Stella, and I can't protect you if you're mine. The word hung between us. Mine, possessive and absolute. You never asked me, I said quietly. Never asked if I was willing to take that risk. Because the answer shouldn't matter. Your safety is my choice to risk. I moved closer, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. You don't get to make decisions about my life to protect me from consequences I'm willing to face. You don't know what you're saying, don't I? I tilted my chin up, meeting his gaze directly. 3 years, Sebastian. Did you think I stayed just for the paycheck? That I didn't notice how you look at me when you think I'm not watching? That I haven't felt this thing between us every single day? His control was fracturing. I could see it in the tension of his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. Stella, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't want me, and I'll go to dinner with Seth, and we can pretend this conversation never happened. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. I can't, he finally said, voice rough. I can't tell you that because it would be a lie. My heart hammered against my ribs. Then what do you want? Everything. The admission seemed torn from him. I want you safe and close and mine. I want to fire Seth for having the audacity to ask you out. I want to cancel tonight and take you to dinner myself and let everyone in this city know you belong to me. His hands fisted at his sides. But what I want, and what's best for you, are two different things. Stop deciding what's best for me, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. I'm not some delicate thing that needs protecting from reality. I know who you are, Sebastian. I've always known, and I'm still here. Before he could respond, my phone rang. The office line, not my cell. I answered automatically. Sebastian Ricci's office. Miss Romano. The voice was smooth, unfamiliar, and sent ice down my spine. Such a pleasure to finally speak with you. I've heard so much. Who is this? Sebastian went rigid, his expression turning dangerous. A concerned party. I wanted to call and wish you luck on your dinner tonight. Seth Donovan, correct? Lovely man. I do hope nothing unfortunate happens. The line went dead. I set the phone down with a hand that trembled slightly. Who was that? Sebastian's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. Exactly what I was afraid of. The threatening phone call changed everything in an instant. Sebastian's entire demeanor shifted. The man who'd been vulnerably confessing his feelings vanishing behind the cold, calculating mob boss I'd only glimpsed in moments of crisis. Marco! His voice carried through the closed door, sharp and commanding. The door opened immediately, Marco stepping in with his hand already inside his jacket. Boss? Get Stella to the safe room, now, and find out who just called this line. Sebastian's eyes never left my face. No one touches her. No one even breathes near her without my explicit permission. Wait, I started. But Sebastian cut me off. This isn't negotiable. His voice was steel. Someone just threatened you because of your connection to me. That phone call was a message. They know about tonight, they know about Seth, and they're letting me know they can reach you whenever they want. Marco moved toward me, and I stepped back instinctively. I'm not going anywhere until you explain what's happening. Stella. No. I planted my feet, lifted my chin. You just told me not to let you make decisions about my life. Well, this is me making one. I'm not hiding in some safe room while you handle this without me. Something flickered in Sebastian's eyes. Frustration, yes, but also a grudging respect. You don't understand the danger. Then help me understand. My voice rose. Stop protecting me from information and tell me the truth. Who was that? What do they want? Sebastian looked at Marco, some silent communication passing between them. Finally, Marco nodded and stepped back, though he remained by the door. The Calabrese family, Sebastian said, moving to pour himself a drink from the crystal decanter on his sidebar. Scotch, neat, which meant he was truly rattled. I'd only seen him drink during business hours twice before, both times after particularly dangerous negotiations. They've been pushing into my territory for months, testing boundaries, seeing where I'll bend. And I'm a boundary they want to test. You're a weakness they want to exploit. He downed the scotch in one swallow. Or so they think. Because you care about me. Because I'm in love with you. The words came out flat, matter of fact, like he was discussing a shipping manifest, rather than admitting something that made my heart stop. Have been for 2 years, since the night you stayed late to help me prepare for the Moretti audit, and you fell asleep at your desk with your glasses crooked and ink on your cheek from taking notes. The memory surfaced, sharp and clear. I'd woken to find my blazer draped over my shoulders like a blanket, still warm from his body. He'd been standing by the window, silhouetted against the city lights, and when I'd started to apologize, he'd simply said, "Go home, Stella. Get some rest." His voice had been softer than I'd ever heard it, almost tender. You never said anything. Because saying it would make it real, would make you a target. He set down the glass with controlled precision. I've spent 2 years keeping distance between us, maintaining professional boundaries, pretending you were just my assistant, and it was working until Seth asked me out. Until Antonio noticed how I reacted when Seth asked you out. Sebastian's jaw clenched. I tried to hide it, told myself I could let you go, that you deserved someone clean, someone without blood on his hands. But Antonio saw through me in seconds. What did he say? Sebastian's laugh was bitter. That I was already making you a target by keeping you close but unprotected. That everyone in our world could see how I felt, which meant everyone in the underworld could see it too. He suggested I either claim you publicly or push you away completely. He moved to the window, his back to me. The dinner with Seth was supposed to be me pushing you away, proving to Antonio and everyone else that you meant nothing to me. But the phone call proves that didn't work. The phone call proves the Calabrese family is smarter than Antonio gave them credit for. They saw through the strategy immediately. His hands fisted at his sides. And now they know that threatening you is the fastest way to get under my skin. I moved toward him, drawn by the raw honesty in his voice. What do they want? My territory, my connections, my compliance. He turned, and the expression on his face was the most vulnerable I'd ever seen him. They want me weak, distracted, making mistakes, and you, Stella, are the perfect distraction. So what happens now? Now you cancel with Seth. Now you let me put protection on you, subtle but effective. Now you go into hiding? I finished for him. Become a prisoner because someone might use me against you? It's not prison, it's protection. It's control. I stepped closer, anger and fear and something deeper warring in my chest. You're doing exactly what you accused yourself of, making decisions about my life without asking what I want. What you want doesn't matter when your safety is at stake. The words hung between us, harsh and revealing. Sebastian closed his eyes, visibly fighting for control. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. I kept my voice steady despite the hurt. You meant exactly that. What I want, what I choose, what I'm willing to risk. None of it matters to you as much as keeping me safe. Because if something happened to you... His voice cracked, just slightly. Stella, if they hurt you because of me, I wouldn't survive it. The raw admission stole my breath. This was Sebastian Ricci, the man who stared down rival families without flinching, who made decisions that affected hundreds of lives with cold calculation, cracking open and showing me the terrified man beneath. Then give me a choice, I said quietly. Not an order, not a directive, a real choice. He looked at me for a long moment, something like desperation in his eyes. The choice is this. Let me protect you properly, which means security, restrictions, changes to your life. Or walk away entirely, and I'll make sure the Calabrese family knows you mean nothing to me. Those aren't real choices. Those are ultimatums. They're the only options I can live with. I studied his face, seeing past the controlled exterior to the fear beneath. He was terrified, I realized. Truly, deeply terrified in a way I'd never imagined Sebastian Ricci could be. What if I want a third option? I asked. What if I want to stay, and work, and live my life, but with you in it? Really in it. Not just as my boss who secretly cares but won't claim me. You don't know what you're asking. I'm asking you to choose me openly, to stop hiding how you feel, and let everyone in your world know I'm yours. The word felt right on my tongue, powerful rather than diminishing. Make me yours, Sebastian. Not secretly, not shamefully, but publicly. If I'm already a target, at least let me be a protected one. His eyes darkened with something that looked like hunger. If I claim you publicly, there's no going back. You'll be tied to me, to my world, to everything I am. Every enemy I have becomes your enemy. Every danger I face becomes yours too. I know. You'll have to give up your apartment, live somewhere I can protect you properly. You'll have security following you everywhere. Your freedom will be... Negotiable, I interrupted. But not gone. I won't be locked away like some princess in a tower, Sebastian. If I'm yours, I'm your partner, not your possession. He moved suddenly, closing the distance between us in 2 strides. His hands framed my face with surprising gentleness, his dark eyes searching mine. You're sure? Because once I make this claim, I won't let you go. Not for threats, not for danger, not for anything. I'm sure. His thumb traced my lower lip, the touch sending electricity through me. Then the dinner with Seth is canceled. You're not going anywhere with him or anyone else. From this moment on, everyone needs to know you belong to me. Then prove it, I challenged, my voice barely above a whisper. Don't just tell me. Show me. Show everyone. Something fierce and possessive flashed across his face. Marco! The door opened immediately. Boss? Cancel Miss Romano's plans for tonight. And call Il Giardino. Reservation for 2 at 8 o'clock. I want the private room, the one with the view. He never took his eyes off me. And send word to every family in the city. Let them know Sebastian Ricci is taking his woman to dinner. Make sure the Calabrese family gets the message first. Marco's eyebrows rose slightly, but he nodded. Understood, boss. Anything else? Yes. Call the jeweler. I need a ring by 7 o'clock. My heart stopped. Sebastian, if I'm claiming you, I'm doing it right. His voice was firm, absolute. No half measures, no ambiguity. You'll wear my ring where everyone can see it. You're moving very fast. I've waited 2 years, Stella. That's not fast, that's overdue. His hands slid down to my shoulders. Unless you've changed your mind? Had I? This morning I'd been his assistant, living a careful, controlled life. Now I was agreeing to become the publicly acknowledged woman of a mob boss, to wear his ring, to step fully into his dangerous world. No, I said, and meant it. I haven't changed my mind. Then go home. Pack what you need for tonight. Marco will drive you and make sure you're safe. Come back here at 7, and we'll show this city exactly who you belong to. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. What about Seth? Sebastian's jaw tightened. I'll handle Seth. He'll understand. Will he? He'll have to. There was steel in his voice. Because you're mine now, Stella, and I protect what's mine. I left his office in a daze, Marco following at a discreet distance. The rest of the office staff watched with barely concealed curiosity as I gathered my things. News traveled fast in Sebastian's world, and I had no doubt everyone already knew something significant had shifted. My phone buzzed as Marco held the elevator door. Seth. Still on for tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. I stared at the message, guilt twisting through me. Seth had been nothing but kind, nothing but honest about his interest. And now I was canceling on him because his boss had finally admitted feelings he'd been hiding for 2 years. Before I could type a response, another message appeared, this time from Sebastian. Don't respond. I'll handle it. Trust me. I slipped my phone into my purse and stepped into the elevator, leaving behind the safe, predictable life I'd known and stepping toward something dangerous, intoxicating, and utterly terrifying. And I couldn't wait to see what happened next. The apartment Marco drove me to wasn't mine. I realized that immediately when the car pulled up to a building in the most exclusive part of the city, where doormen wore white gloves, and the lobby probably cost more than my entire apartment complex. This isn't where I live, I said, though Marco already knew that. Boss's orders, Miss Romano. You're staying here until the situation is secured. He opened my door, offering his hand. It's one of Mr. Ricci's properties. Fully secured, guards on every entrance, and your things are already being moved. My things... I stopped, processing. He's moving me out of my apartment, without asking? Marco's expression remained professionally neutral. He's protecting you, miss. Your old building had no security, no controlled access. anyone could walk in off the street. Like the Calabrese family, like whoever had made that phone call. The logic was sound, even if the method was high-handed and controlling. The apartment was on the 20th floor, taking up the entire level. Marco used a keycard to unlock the door, then stepped back to let me enter first. I walked into what could only be described as a showroom for wealth. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The furniture was modern and expensive, all clean lines and muted colors that screamed designer. Original artwork decorated the walls, and I was fairly certain that was a genuine Modigliani above the fireplace. "Your bedroom is the master suite. Second door on the right," Marco said. "Your clothes should arrive within the hour. Mr. Ricci asked me to inform you that anything you need that isn't already here can be provided immediately." I moved through the space feeling like an intruder. Everything was beautiful and perfect and completely impersonal, like a luxury hotel rather than a home. "Marco, how long has Sebastian owned this place?" "About 3 months, miss." 3 months. Right around the time Seth had started showing interest in me, I realized. Sebastian had been planning this, preparing a safe place to put me if things went wrong. The realization sent conflicting emotions through me. Touched that he'd been thinking ahead. Angry that he'd done it without telling me. "He bought this for me," I said. Not a question. "Mr. Ricci doesn't discuss his reasons with me, miss. But yes, I believe that was his intention." After Marco left, I explored the apartment more thoroughly. The kitchen was fully stocked with food I actually liked, down to the specific brand of coffee I preferred, and the dark chocolate I kept in my desk drawer at work for stressful afternoons. The bathroom had my favorite shampoo, my preferred skincare products, even the specific toothpaste I used. He'd been watching me even more closely than I'd realized, learning every detail, every preference, every small thing that made me comfortable. It should have felt invasive, but instead it felt like being seen in a way I'd never experienced before. My phone rang. "Sebastian." "You're settling in?" His voice was formal, controlled, giving nothing away. "You bought me an apartment. I bought a safe location for you to stay. There's a difference. You stocked it with my favorite things, down to the chocolate." A pause. "I pay attention, Stella. You know that. This is more than paying attention. This is," I struggled for the word, "surveillance. You've been cataloging everything about me. Knowing what you need is how I protect you." His voice softened slightly. "And yes, I've been paying very close attention for 2 years. Every habit, every preference, every small thing that makes you smile. Is that so terrible?" My throat tightened with emotion. "It's terrifying and romantic at the same time. That's an accurate description of my entire existence." And there were sounds in the background, voices I didn't recognize. "I need to handle some business before tonight. The jeweler will be there at 6 with options for rings. Choose whichever one feels right." "Sebastian. And Stella?" His voice dropped lower, more intimate. "Wear something that makes you feel powerful. Not the blue dress. That one's mine, for when we're alone. Tonight, you wear armor." The line went dead before I could respond. At precisely 6 o'clock, the doorbell rang. A distinguished older man with a jeweler's loop on a chain around his neck stood there with a briefcase and 2 security guards flanking him. "Miss Romano, I'm Vincent Castellano. Mr. Ricci asked me to bring a selection for your consideration." He opened the briefcase on the dining table, revealing a collection of rings that made my breath catch. Each one was stunning, clearly worth more than I made in a year, maybe several years. "Mr. Ricci was very specific about his requirements," Vincent said, handling each piece with reverence. "Visible but not ostentatious, elegant and timeless, something that announces commitment without being theatrical." I studied the options, my mind spinning. This morning I'd been his assistant. Tonight I'd be wearing his ring, sitting at his side at the most exclusive restaurant in the city, making a public statement that would change everything. One ring caught my eye, a square-cut diamond, simple and classic, set in platinum with small emeralds on either side. It was beautiful without being flashy, the kind of ring that would catch light without demanding attention. "This one," I said, before I could second-guess myself. Vincent smiled. "An excellent choice. May I?" He slipped it onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Sebastian would have known my ring size the same way he knew everything else about me. "Mr. Ricci will be pleased," Vincent said, packing away the other options. "He chose that one as well when I showed him the collection yesterday." "Yesterday?" The word came out sharper than I intended. "He commissioned these yesterday?" "3 months ago, miss. But he called yesterday to say it was finally time." Vincent's eyes were kind. "Mr. Ricci is many things, but impulsive isn't one of them. He's been planning this moment for quite some time." After Vincent left, I stood by the window, watching the city lights begin to twinkle as evening approached. The ring felt heavy on my finger, weighted with significance and promises, and a future I couldn't quite envision. My phone buzzed. A text from Seth. "Sebastian called. I understand. For what it's worth, I knew it was always going to be him. You look at each other like the rest of us don't exist. Be happy, Stella, and be careful. He loves you enough to burn the world for you. But that kind of love comes with a price." The message made my chest tight. Seth was letting me go with grace I probably didn't deserve, and his warning echoed uncomfortably. What price would I pay for Sebastian's all-consuming love? At 6:45, there was another knock. This time it was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an air of authority. "Miss Romano, I'm Claudia Ricci, Sebastian's aunt." I blinked. In 3 years, I'd never met any of Sebastian's family. He kept that part of his life carefully separated from the business. "Please, come in." She entered, studying me with an intensity that reminded me of Sebastian. "So you're the one who finally broke through his walls." "I'm not sure I'd put it that way. He's been in love with you for 2 years, and too stubborn to do anything about it until someone forced his hand." Claudia settled onto the sofa with the ease of someone comfortable anywhere. "I've been waiting for him to stop being an idiot. The phone call this morning accelerated his timeline, but this was always inevitable." "You seem very certain." "I am. Because I know my nephew, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you." She leaned forward. "But I'm not here to talk about Sebastian's feelings. I'm here to talk about yours." "I don't understand." "You're about to enter a world that will judge you harshly. You'll be seen as an outsider, a weakness, someone who doesn't belong. The other families will test you, try to use you, attempt to drive wedges between you and Sebastian." Her gaze was direct. "Can you handle that?" I thought about the threatening phone call, about Marco's warnings, about the luxurious cage this apartment represented. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I'm willing to try." "Good. Honesty is the only currency that matters in this world." Claudia stood. "I brought you something, a family tradition." She pulled a small box from her purse. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet with a small charm, a star. "Stella means star," Claudia said softly. "My mother wore this. She was an outsider too, married into the family when everyone said she wasn't strong enough. She proved them all wrong." She fastened it around my wrist. "Now it's yours. A reminder that you belong, not because of Sebastian's claim, but because you chose to be here." Tears pricked my eyes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This life isn't easy, but if you're sure about Sebastian, I'll help you navigate it." She moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. The Calabrese family will make another move, soon. Sebastian knows it's coming, which is why he's moving so fast to protect you. When it happens, trust him. Even when you don't understand his decisions, trust that he's doing what he believes is necessary. After she left, I sat with the bracelet on my wrist and the ring on my finger, feeling the weight of both. Physical symbols of a choice I'd made, a world I was entering, a man I was giving myself to despite every logical reason not to. At 7 o'clock, Marco arrived to drive me back to the office. I'd chosen a black dress, elegant and sophisticated, with a neckline that was modest, but the fabric that clung in all the right places. Armor, as Sebastian had said. Something that made me feel powerful. The office was quiet when we arrived, most of the staff gone for the day. But Sebastian's office glowed with light, and I could see his silhouette through the frosted glass. Marco knocked once. "Miss Romano, boss." "Send her in." I entered, and Sebastian looked up from his desk. The expression on his face when he saw me made my breath catch. Hunger and possession, and something almost reverent. "You're stunning," he said, voice rough. Then his eyes dropped to my hand. "You chose the one with emeralds." It felt right. He stood, moving around the desk. Tonight he wore a tuxedo, perfectly tailored, making him look even more dangerous and devastating. "Those emeralds match my mother's necklace, the one Claudia is keeping for me. Your aunt was here." "I know. I asked her to come." He stopped in front of me, his hand settling on my waist. "She wanted to meet you, to make sure you understood what you were getting into." "And what am I getting into, Sebastian?" His smile was slow and dark. "Everything, Stella. Absolutely everything." He pulled a long velvet box from his desk drawer. Inside was a necklace, emeralds and diamonds that would have looked at home in a museum. This was my mother's. My father gave it to her when they married. She wore it every day until she died. His voice was quiet, weighted with emotion I rarely heard from him. "Now it's yours." "Sebastian, I can't." "You can. You will." He moved behind me, fastening it around my neck. The weight of it settled against my skin, cool and precious. "Tonight, everyone will see you wearing my ring and my mother's necklace. There will be no question about what you mean to me." I turned in his arms, looking up at this dangerous, complicated man who'd just given me his family's jewels. "What happens after tonight?" His hands framed my face. "After tonight, the real work begins. We navigate this world together. You learn how to be mine while staying yourself. I learn how to share my life instead of controlling every piece of it." His thumb traced my lower lip. "And we figure out how to survive the threats that are coming. You're sure they're coming?" "I'm certain. The Calabrese family won't back down because I made a public claim. If anything, it makes you a more valuable target." His jaw tightened. "But they'll have to go through me to reach you. And I don't lose, Stella. Not when it matters. Not when it's you." He kissed me then, not gently, but with all the pent-up longing of 2 years. I melted into him, feeling his control fracture, feeling the desperation beneath his usual composure. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. "Ready to show this city who you belong to?" "Yes," I whispered. "Ready." Il Giardino was everything I'd imagined and more. The restaurant occupied the ground floor of a historic building, all exposed brick and arched ceilings, with ivy climbing the walls and soft lighting that made everything look like a painting. The maitre d' recognized Sebastian immediately, his deference bordering on reverent. "Mr. Ricci, welcome. Your private room is ready." We walked through the main dining area, and I felt every eye in the room turn to watch us. Sebastian's hand rested possessively on the small of my back, guiding me through the space with the confidence of a man who owned everything he surveyed. which, I was beginning to realize, wasn't far from the truth. The whispers started immediately. I caught fragments as we passed. Is that his assistant? Never thought Sebastian Ricci would... Wearing Elena Ricci's necklace, my God. The private room was intimate, separated from the main restaurant by heavy velvet curtains and soundproofed walls. A single table sat in the center, already set with crystal and china that probably cost more than my car. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a private garden, lit with thousands of tiny lights. It's beautiful, I breathed. Not as beautiful as you. Sebastian pulled out my chair, his hands lingering on my shoulders after I sat. I've reserved this room a dozen times over the past 2 years, always canceled at the last minute because I couldn't bring myself to bring anyone else here when it was meant for you. The confession made my heart squeeze. 2 years of waiting. 2 years of watching you and wanting you and convincing myself you'd be safer if I kept my distance. He took his seat across from me, his dark eyes intense in the candlelight. I was a fool. You were protecting me. I was protecting myself from the possibility of losing you, from the certainty that loving you would make me vulnerable. His hand reached across the table, palm up, an invitation. But the Calabrese family made me realize I was already vulnerable. They already knew. Keeping distance between us only meant you weren't protected. I placed my hand in his, feeling his fingers close around mine, warm and possessive. A server appeared with champagne, pouring with practiced efficiency before disappearing. Sebastian lifted his glass. To honesty, to finally claiming what should have always been mine. And to you, Stella, for being brave enough to choose this world, despite knowing what it costs. We drank, and the champagne was perfect, crisp and cold, and undoubtedly worth more than I wanted to know. Tell me about your family, I said. Claudia mentioned your mother, but you never talk about them. Something shuddered in his expression. My father died when I was 16. Heart attack, though the stress of running an empire probably helped. My mother lasted 3 more years before cancer took her. His thumb traced circles on my palm. She would have liked you, would have appreciated your strength, your refusal to be controlled. Is that why you were drawn to me? Because I reminded you of her? No. I was drawn to you because you saw me as a man instead of a monster. Because you organized my chaos without trying to change who I was. Because you fell asleep at your desk with ink on your face and looked more beautiful than any woman I'd ever seen. The server returned with appetizers, burrata and heirloom tomatoes that melted on my tongue, followed by handmade pasta that was sinfully good. We ate and talked, the conversation flowing easier than it ever had in 3 years of working together. Without the walls of professionalism between us, Sebastian was different. Still controlled, still commanding, but softer somehow. More human. What happens now? I asked over the main course. After tonight, after the public claim, what does my life look like? Different. He set down his fork, giving me his full attention. You'll need security, people you can trust watching you at all times. Your schedule will need approval, not because I'm controlling you, but because we need to ensure you're safe. The apartment is yours, but I'd prefer you eventually move into my penthouse. More secure and... He paused, something vulnerable crossing his face. I'd like to wake up with you there. The admission made warmth pool low in my stomach. Eventually? I won't force it. This is already a lot of change happening very fast. But yes, eventually. I want you in my home, in my bed, in every part of my life. What about work? You're still my assistant if you want to be. Though with the security requirements, you'd need to work from the executive floor exclusively. No more running errands around the city. He leaned back, studying me. Or, if you prefer, I have other positions in the organization that might interest you. You're brilliant with details, with organization. Those skills could be useful in many ways. You mean in the other business, the less legitimate parts? His expression didn't change. I mean in all my businesses. I won't hide that part of my life from you anymore, Stella. If you're mine, you're entitled to know everything. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his entire demeanor changed, hardening into something cold and dangerous. What is it? Marco, there's been an incident. He stood, already moving toward the door. Stay here, don't leave this room. Sebastian. Please, Stella, just this once, don't argue with me. He was gone before I could protest, the curtain falling closed behind him. I sat alone in the beautiful room, listening to muffled voices from beyond the velvet barrier. Raised voices, angry ones. Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. I twisted the napkin in my lap, the ring on my finger catching the candlelight. What incident? Who was involved? The curtain moved, and I looked up expecting Sebastian. Instead, a man I didn't recognize stepped through. He was younger than Sebastian, maybe early 30s, with slicked back hair and a smile that didn't reach his cold eyes. Miss Romano, finally, we meet properly. I'm Dante Calabresi. Ice flooded my veins. The Calabresi family, the threat Sebastian had been protecting me from. You need to leave. I stood, backing toward the windows. Sebastian is currently occupied with a small distraction my men created. Nothing serious, just enough to give us a few minutes alone. He moved further into the room, his movements casual but predatory. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. What makes Sebastian Ricci risk everything for one woman? Get out. Such fire, I can see the appeal. He circled the table, and I matched his movements, keeping furniture between us. Here's what's going to happen, Miss Romano. You're going to come with me, very quietly, and we're going to have a conversation about your boyfriend's business practices. I'm not going anywhere with you. That wasn't a request. His hand moved to his jacket, and I saw the glint of metal. A gun. We can do this easy or hard. Your choice. Fear clawed at my throat, but I forced myself to stay calm. If you shoot me here, you'll never make it out alive. Sebastian has men throughout this restaurant. Who said anything about shooting? There are other ways to ensure cooperation. He pulled out a syringe instead, and my blood ran cold. A mild sedative. You'll wake up in a few hours, we'll have our chat, and if Sebastian is reasonable, you'll be returned unharmed. He'll kill you for this. He'll try. But first, he'll have to find you. Dante moved quickly, and I grabbed the champagne bottle from the ice bucket, swinging it at his head. He dodged, laughing. There's that fire again. This is going to be fun, I screamed, as loud as I could, hoping someone would hear. Dante lunged and I threw the bottle at him, backing toward the door. But before I could reach it, the curtain burst open. Sebastian stood there, and the expression on his face was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Not anger exactly, but something colder. Absolute murderous intent. Step away from her, Dante. Or what, Ricci? You'll start a war over your little secretary. But Dante had stopped moving, recognizing the danger. I'll end you and your entire family before the night is over. Sebastian's voice was deadly calm. That's not a threat. That's a promise. Step away. For a moment I thought Dante would refuse. Then Marco appeared behind Sebastian, gun drawn, and 3 more of Sebastian's men filed in through other entrances I hadn't noticed. Dante raised his hand slowly, smiling that cold smile. This isn't over, Ricci. Yes, it is. You touched what's mine, came into my city, into my restaurant, and threatened my woman. Sebastian moved forward, and even I wanted to step back from the fury radiating off him. Marco, take Mr. Calabresi to the car. Make sure he understands the consequences of ever breathing near Stella again." Marco grabbed Dante roughly, dragging him from the room. The other men followed, leaving Sebastian and me alone. He was across the room in 2 strides, his hands framing my face, checking me for injuries. "Did he touch you? Did he hurt you?" "No, I'm fine. My voice broke. And suddenly I was shaking, the adrenaline crashing through me. Sebastian pulled me against his chest, his arms wrapping around me with fierce protectiveness. "You're safe. I've got you. You're safe. How did he get in here? You said this place was secure." "He had help. Someone on my payroll sold me out." His voice was hard, promising retribution. "They're being dealt with as we speak." I pulled back to look at him. "What are you going to do to Dante?" "Nothing tonight. Tonight I'm getting you somewhere truly safe." His jaw clenched. "But tomorrow, the Calabrese family will learn what happens when they threaten what's mine. Sebastian, don't start a war because of me. This war started the moment they made that phone call this morning. This was just the first battle." His hand slid down to grip my shoulders. "And they need to understand that you're not some weakness they can exploit. You're my strength, my line in the sand. Anyone who crosses it pays the price." He was scaring me, not because I feared him, but because I could see how far he'd go to protect me. How many lives he'd destroy, how much blood he'd spill. "I want to go home," I whispered. "To the apartment. I just want to feel safe." Something in his expression softened. "Of course, but not the apartment, not tonight. Somewhere even more secure." "Where?" "My penthouse. The one place in the city I control completely, where I can watch over you myself." His forehead rested against mine. "Please, Stella, let me protect you properly." I nodded, too shaken to argue. The beautiful evening we'd planned had shattered, replaced by the harsh reality of Sebastian's world. A world I'd chosen, but one I was only beginning to understand the true cost of. As we left the restaurant through a back exit, surrounded by Sebastian's men, I realized something that made my heart ache. Loving Sebastian Ricci meant living in constant danger, meant being a target for his enemies, a weakness they'd exploit, a weapon they'd try to use against him. And I'd chosen it anyway. Chosen him. Despite knowing the price, despite the fear, despite everything. Because some loves were worth fighting for, even when the fight might destroy you. Sebastian's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of the building that housed his offices. I'd never been here before, had only imagined what his private sanctuary might look like during those long evenings when he'd dismiss me and take the private elevator home. The reality was both expected and surprising. Yes, it was luxurious, all dark wood and leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. But it was also lived in, comfortable in a way the corporate apartment wasn't. Books stacked on side tables, a coffee cup left on the kitchen counter, a cashmere throw draped over the sofa like he'd been using it recently. "This is home," he said simply, watching me take it all in. "Not some sterile safe house. This is where I live, where I want you to live." Marco and the other security had swept the penthouse before letting us enter, then positioned themselves at strategic points throughout the building. Sebastian had been on his phone the entire ride here, speaking in rapid Italian that I couldn't quite follow but understood the tone of cold, commanding, absolute. Now, alone with me in his home, some of that icy control was fracturing. I could see it in the tension of his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. "I should have known they'd make a move tonight," he said, pacing to the windows. "Should have anticipated Dante would be bold enough to try something during dinner. Sebastian, you could have been taken, drugged, kidnapped, used against me." His hands fisted at his sides. "Because I was arrogant enough to think a public claim would protect you when it only painted a bigger target." I moved toward him, drawn by the self-recrimination in his voice. "This isn't your fault. isn't it? I brought you into this world, made you a target by caring about you, by being unable to hide how I felt. He turned to face me, and the raw emotion in his eyes stole my breath. Maybe Antonio was right. Maybe loving you is a weakness I can't afford. The words hit like a physical blow. Is that what you believe? I don't know what I believe anymore. He moved to the sidebar, pouring himself a drink. All I know is that seeing Dante in that room with you, seeing him threaten you, made me want to burn his entire family to ash. And that kind of reaction, that loss of control, it's dangerous. Dangerous for who? For everyone. He downed the scotch in one swallow. Especially you. I closed the distance between us, taking the glass from his hand and setting it aside. Look at me, Sebastian. He did, those dark eyes churning with emotion. I chose this, chose you. Knowing the dangers, knowing the risks. You don't get to make that choice for me now because things got scary. I placed my hand on his chest, feeling his heart racing beneath the expensive fabric. I'm not some delicate thing that needs to be locked away for safekeeping. I'm your partner, your equal. And that means I face these threats with you, not hidden away while you handle everything alone. You don't understand what you're asking. Then help me understand. Stop protecting me from reality and let me in completely. All of it, Sebastian. The business, the dangers, the decisions you have to make. I can't be your partner if you keep me in the dark. He studied me for a long moment, warring with himself. Finally, he nodded. All right. You want the truth? The complete truth? Yes. The Calabrese family has been pushing into my territory for 6 months. They've corrupted 3 of my men, stolen 2 shipments, and challenged my authority at every turn. His voice was cold, factual. Tonight's attempt to take you was their declaration of war. They're betting I'll back down, negotiate, show weakness to keep you safe. And will you? His smile was dangerous. No. Tomorrow morning I'm meeting with the other families. We're going to discuss the Calabrese problem and reach a consensus. Which means I'm going to make it clear that anyone who threatens you, who even looks at you wrong, will face consequences that make war look merciful. He cupped my face, his touch gentle despite the steel in his voice. And I'm going to ask for their support in removing the Calabrese family from power permanently. The casual way he discussed destroying an entire family should have terrified me. Instead, I felt a dark satisfaction that he'd go that far to protect me. What can I do to help? He blinked, clearly not expecting the question. Nothing. This isn't your fight. It became my fight the moment Dante walked into that room. So tell me, what can I do? Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe, or a grudging acceptance. You can attend the meeting with me. Let the other families see you at my side, wearing my ring and my mother's necklace. Show them you're not some weakness to exploit, but my partner in every sense. Then that's what I'll do. He pulled me close, his arms wrapping around me with desperate possessiveness. How did I get so lucky to find you? You didn't find me. I found you, remember? Fell asleep at my desk and you covered me with your jacket. I fell in love with you that night, he murmured against my hair. Watched you sleep and knew my life would never be the same. I tilted my head back to look at him. Show me. Show you what? Show me you love me, not with words or protection or grand gestures. Show me with you. Here, now. His eyes darkened with understanding and desire. Stella. I want you, Sebastian. All of you. No more waiting, no more walls. Just us. He kissed me then, and it was nothing like the controlled kisses we'd shared before. This was raw and desperate. 2 years of longing finally unleashed. His hands were everywhere, pulling me closer, learning the shape of me through the expensive fabric of my dress. "Are you sure?" he asked against my lips, even as his fingers found the zipper at my back. "I've never been more sure of anything." He swept me into his arms, carrying me through the penthouse to his bedroom. The space was masculine and elegant, dominated by a massive bed with dark sheets. He set me down carefully, his hands gentle despite the hunger in his eyes. "I've imagined this," he confessed, sliding the dress from my shoulders. 1,000 times. You in my bed, in my home, completely mine. Then stop imagining and make it real. What followed was acclaiming in the truest sense. Sebastian worshipped every inch of me with his hands and mouth, learning what made me gasp and shiver. When he finally made me his completely, it felt like a completion, like two pieces fitting together that had always been meant to align. Afterward, we lay tangled in his sheets, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. "About Seth." I stiffened slightly. "What about him?" "The dinner invitation. It wasn't his idea. It was mine." I lifted my head to look at him. "What?" "I asked him to ask you out. Wanted to see if I could push you away, convince myself you'd be better off with someone else." His expression was pained. "He knew how I felt about you." "Everyone did. But I asked him anyway because I'm a coward who was too afraid to claim what I wanted." "And what happened?" "The moment you accepted, I lost my mind. Spent the entire day planning how to sabotage it, how to make sure you never actually went. Then the Calabrese family called, and suddenly my selfish jealousy became something else entirely." His hand cupped my face. "I'm sorry. For being a coward. For putting you in danger with my indecision. For all of it." "I forgive you," I said simply. "On one condition." "Anything." "No more games. No more tests. If you want me, you have me. But I need you to be all in, Sebastian. No holding back. No protecting me from yourself." "Deal." He kissed me softly. "I'm all in, Stella. Completely yours." We slept little that night, making up for 2 years of restraint and denial. By morning I ached in the best ways, my body branded with his possession in marks that would fade, but leave a deeper imprint on my soul. The meeting with the families was scheduled for 10. Sebastian's tailor arrived at 8 with a selection of clothing for me, elegant, powerful pieces that announced I belonged at Sebastian's side. I chose a deep green dress that matched the emeralds in my necklace, paired with heels that gave me enough height to look the other family's leaders in the eye. Sebastian watched me dress with hungry appreciation, but also pride. "You look like a queen," he said, adjusting the necklace slightly. "My queen." The meeting was held in a private room at one of Sebastian's legitimate businesses, a wine import company that served as a front for more profitable ventures. The room was already full when we arrived, a dozen men in expensive suits, representing the major families that controlled the city. All conversation stopped when Sebastian walked in with me at his side. "Gentlemen," Sebastian said, his voice carrying absolute authority, "thank you for coming. I believe you all know my assistant, Miss Romano, though her position has recently changed. She's now my fiancée, and as such, under the protection of this family and all our alliances." I saw the looks exchanged, the calculations being made. Sebastian had just announced our engagement publicly, binding me to him in a way that carried weight in this world. Antonio Moretti stood, raising a glass. "To Sebastian and his beautiful bride-to-be. May your union bring strength and prosperity." The others followed suit, though I caught some expressions that were less than pleased. The Calabrese family seats were conspicuously empty. "Now, to business," Sebastian continued, his hand never leaving the small of my back. "The Calabrese family attempted to kidnap Miss Romano last night. A direct attack on my family, on our agreements, on the peace we've all worked to maintain. The room erupted in murmurs. This was serious, a violation that couldn't be ignored. "I'm calling for a vote," Sebastian said. "The Calabrese family has proven they cannot be trusted. They've broken agreements, stolen shipments, and now attacked my personal family. I propose we revoke their seat at this table and redistribute their territories among the families who've remained loyal to our accords." One by one, the families voted. It was unanimous. The Calabrese family was out, their empire to be divided among the victors. As the meeting concluded, Sebastian's hand tightened on my waist. We'd won, but I knew this was just the beginning. The Calabrese family wouldn't accept their removal quietly. There would be retaliation, more danger, more threats. But I also knew something else with absolute certainty. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. Sebastian and I, partners in every sense, bound by more than rings and contracts, bound by choice, by love, by an unwavering commitment to protect what we'd built. As we left the meeting, Sebastian pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being brave enough to choose this life. Choose me." His dark eyes held mine. "I know it won't be easy. There will be more threats, more danger. But I promise you, Stella, I'll spend every day proving you made the right choice." "I already know I did," I said, meaning it completely. Because loving Sebastian Ricci meant danger and darkness and constant vigilance, but it also meant being seen completely, cherished absolutely, and protected fiercely. It meant partnership and passion, and a love so consuming it redefined everything I thought I knew about belonging. I was his, and he was mine. And together, we were unbreakable.